Name, gender, race, sexuality. Who would have thought that any college course would start with these questions and Cardi B's Bodak Yellow? From day one, you had me and my classmates on our toes, with no idea what was to come next in the next class, let alone the next 10 minutes. I remember thinking in my head, I just need this class to get the credits, but if it's like this every week, I'll at least get to do something fun. As the first class went on, it got even more intense as people brought up things such as interracial dating, normalized racism, and the assumptions of race. By the time the class was over, my mind was racing and full of all of the arguments and even more so, the discussions. Over the many weeks of this course, I was able to figure myself out more as a person and apply the lessons to myself and my personal life. At first, I didn't quite get the graph where you depicted personal and historical learning experiences as a fluctuation of going back and forth. I thought that the lessons would always be personal and that there would always be this urge for me to speak up and say what I needed to say about the issue or whatever it was. However, we got a few weeks in and one class went by where I replied to a question and I could see some of my classmates' faces look back at me like, is she serious? Or more like, this white girl just said that. I was just getting used to this class and experiencing an environment where I could be very open. So I just shut down. I didn't speak for the rest of that class or for the next. I focused on just understanding the course material, how it applied to me and my classmates, and the importance it had for both then and in history. I listened to what everyone had to say and tried to keep my face passive in order to have the least influence in the class. After I went back to participating in the discussions, I finally understood the fluctuations between my personal experience and understanding and the historical learning process and understanding. Now at the end of this course, it's much easier for me to notice these fluctuations and try to maintain a middle ground as much as possible so that I can experience the world and its lessons with both views at the same time. I think the hardest part of this class was coming to terms with the worst parts of my identity, specifically that I'm white. I wrote in my personal reflection that I didn't see the advantages that I received from being white, but at the time I was thinking more in terms of things such as scholarships, money, and things like that. I didn't realize that it was much bigger than that. The first thing that really impacted me was the DACA video that was shown in class that showed the lives of 3 undocumented college graduates. I never realized that an undocumented student would be unable to get a job in their field for most degrees, since they are required to have many documents that an undocumented person is unable to obtain. Even worse, some undocumented students are unable to even obtain their degree as they cannot take the final exam without a social security number or a government-issued ID, which were not given to undocumented students until DACA. A college student just like me was going to school to be a doctor, but he was told that he could not take the test and actually become one because he was not a natural-born citizen. He could have been a doctor by now, someone else for me to look up to, but he was so heartbroken that he could never be able to help people that he killed himself. I can't imagine how hard that was for him, but it showed me that I truly don't know the struggles that ethnic minorities go through. I can never understand what it's like to lose sacred land, or to have someone call me racial slurs, or to sneak into America just to have a better life, or literally any struggle, obstacle, or repercussion that non-white people have gone through just because of that fact. I can never make up for what my ancestors do, or for what the people of my color do today still. I can, however, be an ally, understand the best I can, and help in every way possible. I'm white, but I'm not racist. Each race has their own culture, history, and differences. I'm white, she's black, he's Latino. We're all different, and we're all from different places, different backgrounds, different upbringings, and that's a good thing. The world was meant to be a variety rather than the usual I don't see skin color bull that people like to say in order to make themselves feel better about noticing the differences between each individual. I can honestly say that I'm guilty of saying this in my personal reflection, as I did not have the knowledge I have today, and at the time I kind of thought it was a good thing, I guess. The difference between respecting someone's racial identity and just interacting with a person with a different racial identity than yourself is a choice to see their color and genuinely normalize it within your life, not just mark them off as another colorless being in your colorless world. This class not only made me notice and address racial problems, but literally any problem in our world. It's like this class brought me back to reality. Before this class, I didn't really pay attention, I guess you could say. I would see all the bad things happening on the news and all these people who were suffering, and I thought in my head, yes, that's sad, and yes, I feel bad for them, and yes, this is horrible. But at the same time, it didn't really have that much of an effect on me. It didn't make me feel like I needed to do something. I didn't feel like I had the power to actually speak up and actually help people. When I see problems on campus now, and I see problems in our world, and I see literally any type of problem, I actually want to address it and see how I can somehow change it or improve it. Because, Jody, you showed us what it really means to become a better person and become a person that isn't selfish and that helps their fellow people, no matter what, no matter if they're fat or they're skinny, or if they're black, or if they're white, or if they're Hispanic, if they're transgender, if they're bisexual. It doesn't matter. We're all people. And I knew this before, but this class really put it into perspective that that's really all we have is each other. And we just kind of have to stick up for each other. If there's really anything that you taught me in this class, it really has to be that you taught me that there's a difference between feeling bad for people and like feeling bad about situations and trying to help and actually helping. We can all make a difference, and I really feel like if I find an issue that I'm deeply, deeply concerned about, that I could really make a true difference in it. This course really gave me a starting point on improving my interactions with people different than I am and digging deeper into the history of multiple identities. I think it also really helped me figure out how to unlearn the societal factors, family factors, and white racial factors that have led me down the wrong path of information. After this class, I believe that it's going to be much easier for me to figure out what's really true for myself and be able to use the skills such as the color line and the fluctuations between the personal and the history and everything, just to improve my life and improve the life of others. So I want to thank you for teaching me and for showing me all of these things. So thank you, Jody.